just catch up with the multidimensional approach of religiousness, in which I wondered what is the emotional dimension, what covers it. And the first scientists like Clark proposed that it should be about religious experience. Religious experience is quite a big term. It feels like mystic experiences. And mysticism is great, but it is not an everyday occurring situation. Or conversion, which also only now and then occurs. So what are the emotional dimensions of religiousness, the emotional measures? I was still young, and we got into contact with the gerontology. And one of the ideas we had was that spirituality may constitute the emotional dimension of religiousness. But currently, spirituality is a much bigger concept and even incorporates religion for some ways of approaching it. We chose for the term Gerotranscendence for the concept of Gerotranscendence, and I will introduce it to you and will show you results of a quantitative longitudinal study. Gerotranscendence, it was only mentioned once or twice during the conference, I think. It is a more or less secular approach of spirituality in late life. In fact, connecting also with the life stages as defined by Erik Erikson. Lars Tornstam, he is a Swedish researcher. I think he's still alive, but I'm not certain. Lars is old, I think, and we never met, although I did quite a lot with his studies. He coined the term Gerotranscendence. He's from Uppsala, I think, and defined it as a transition from a materialistic and rationalistic perspective to a more cosmic and transcendent view of life, accompanying the process of aging. It is a shift in meta-perspective, as he calls it. And we now and then can recognize it, and there have been done quite a lot of nice qualitative studies in nursing homes, for example, and in old age care, in which this cosmic and transcendent view was, well, emphasized by researchers. Joan Eriksson, the wife of Erik Erikson, both people became very old, so you should write on the life stages and you can become them very old. And Joan Eriksson, she helps to define a bit and to understand the Gerotranscendence. She connects with Tornstam, and that very old age may lead to a redefinition of time, circumscribed to now. A redefinition of death, which becomes syntonic, or the way of all living things. The importance is there for the Gerotranscendent individual of privacy and solitude. And there is a relativization, the regaining of old skills such as play, activity, joy, and song. It's almost a poem that Joan Eriksson writes. And for her, it's even a way to write the word different. Transcendence, she says. It must be a very gay person, gay woman, this Joan Eriksson. I'll now hop into the quantitative studies. We wrote a paper which we submitted quite a lot of times and was always rejected. That happens, perhaps because of that we didn't find a thing. But I will show you everything. I'm very glad that I can take your time in sharing that we didn't find anything. Here is the Netherlands, and the longitudinal aging study Amsterdam started in 1992, and I was there starting the study, and it still runs on with new cohorts. And the data now are up to 2013. And here we see Amsterdam, a secularized region, the Protestant East, and the Roman Catholic South, which was chosen deliberately to include more subcultural regions within the Netherlands. This aging study is a population-based study, started with over 3,000 participants, and every 3 years people are interviewed. There are many topics included. There is a fixed staff of 5 or 6 persons, but there are always about 20 or 30 researchers connected to LASA. It is particularly also about depression, as assessed with, among others, the CESD scale, and also cosmic transcendence entered the study. Cosmic transcendence. Cosmic transcendence is one of the 3 components of gerotranscendence, but in studies it is the most consistent dimension. The other one, social transcendence and ego transcendence, are less strong from a psychometric point of view. There are a few studies with cosmic transcendence measures, so it fulfills the criterion of replicability. These are the 6 items of the first cosmic transcendence skills. The newer versions appear now and then because, as you see, these sentences, these items are much too difficult. But still, I will show you a few of them. Today, I feel that the border between life and death is less striking compared to when I was 45 years of age. Today, I feel a higher degree how unimportant an individual life is. A greater mutual connection with the universe. I do more often experience a close presence of persons, even when they are physically elsewhere. I feel that the distance between past and present disappears. I feel a greater state of belonging with both early and coming generations. We had worries about the cosmic transcendence items. Would they work? We did a pilot, it now more or less worked. The people were not totally confused when responding to the items, so we went ahead. It was even the other way around. The LASA respondents did not object to the cosmic transcendence items. Some of the interviewers even characterized the atmosphere in this part of the interview as tranquil. They liked it. They liked these very abstract items. The aim of the current study was to explore the 10-year development of cosmic transcendence in older age in older Dutch people, and to get insight into some determinants of change in cosmic transcendence. Of course, religion is in the list, health, cognitive functioning, but also personal or psychological resources like locus of control, the sense of mastery, or humor. Could they tell us a bit about how much control or relativization could occur? Here you see the measurements every 3 years of LASA, and 4 times the cosmic transcendence items were included. Then they kicked it out. I lost my game. I was a bit frustrated and just started to write a paper. I focus on the 4-wave study on cosmic transcendence with over 2,000 respondents involved, but also on the last 2 measurements of respondents before they died. Perhaps there could be an increase in transcendent thoughts and feelings with the approach of death. And here you see why I think that the papers reject that the journals rejected my paper. There was no development over time. The oldest people had somewhat higher scores compared to the middle group, the young group, but over time it didn't increase. Those who die, in the last 2 measurements, there was a somewhat increase for the youngest group, but this was not all significant. We used advanced longitudinal analysis. I didn't do that myself. I got excellent assistance with latent class analysis. 3 classes were distinguished: a high stable group, a low stable group, and an intermediate, slightly decreasing group. And then we could analyze which predicted the high stable cores compared to the low stable cores. or the intermediate course compared to the low stable course. And this high stable course was predicted by age, by prayer, by a Roman Catholic background, although less strong, and by humor coping. And quite similar were the findings for the intermediate group. Also age and prayer predicted it compared to the low stable group, but also cognitive functioning and a lower sense of mastery. So those with a lower sense of mastery had a higher degree of transcendence. But cognitive functioning was also positively linked. The image of deep forgetfulness, or how was it called yesterday, I couldn't find this romantic idea in the data. It was the other way around. So there was no increase over time, only by cohort. Would people develop towards gerotranscendence earlier in life? Is it a midlife theme? Are we over here already gerotranscendent? But that was not what Tornstam intended. And also I think that most of us can imagine this gerotranscendent state of mind in very old people. Is it because of ongoing secularization, which is rapidly ongoing during our study? Churches are, I think, half as well visited, and during the last year, of course, it is totally different. Or is there a cohort effect of people who are socialized in a more or less religious society that have more affinity with matters of contemplation? I'm not sure. And with respect to the relativization, we found some things like a lower mastery, lower sense of mastery, and humor coping. Is that a tendency to defer control? Is it a tendency to fatalism? Or could we coin it as a sort of sadder but wiser statement? There was not really an association with depression. The concept of gerotranscendence is quite popular in the Far East, like the researcher Gondo. I think he's from Taiwan or Korea, I'm not sure. He wrote about gerotranscendence, and he phrased it as a transcendence from dualism. Transcendence from dualism in your judgment about good or bad, which is quite similar to one of the aspects of wisdom. Like Baltus from Germany has described the criteria for wisdom. And the letting go idea was also mentioned here in the conference now and then as an important aspect of very late life. And we can see it a bit back in our findings. So that about gerotranscendence. I think we shouldn't have missed it during this conference. I hope so. And I think it would be nice that we now and then try to go on with theories like this cosmic transcendence or gerotranscendence. Is it a fuzzy concept? Perhaps it is a bit fuzzy, but it shows something of the value of late life with other values than in midlife. This emphasis I like. Cosmic transcendence, gerotranscendence, you will remind her. I think this woman has all the aspects of gerotranscendence. At the first view, she has humor, and she can relativate things. She can be on her own, I think. I hope so. But I started with seeking for the multidimensional approach of religiousness, especially the emotional or affective dimension of religiousness, how it would be connected with depression. So I start again and I connect it with the psychology of religion and with religious feelings. Religious feelings or a religious state of mind for being accepted or to trust, a feeling of trust in your daily life, which may occur much more. And then we arrive in the theory of God image. And I'm now writing about God image in a longitudinal study, but I show you some of the concepts. The God image theory most of you will know about it, but I still want to introduce it because it is also a bit a strange thing. In the theory about object relations is a psychodynamic theory, so it is from psychology. And object relations are defined as a memory function. And you remember and you can imagine relationships with others, for example, with your parents, and you internalize those relationships. And they say something about the other, the object, but also about the self, about the value of yourself, the self-worth by way of mirroring. It helps to sustain your sense of self. And object relations develop throughout the life course. And Anna Maria Rizzuto was a psychoanalyst from the Americas. She applied this object relation idea to the God representation. And I do not want to offend people because seeing God as a God representation is a sort of reduction of the religious idea. But it can also be, from a psychological point of view, be useful to help to describe in a scientific way. And how could we utilize this God representation as a lifelong companion with feelings of trust, or to be angry now and then with terms like "you don't exist anyway," which we now measure with items of the negative religious coping skill. Or feeling one's connection with God in times of crisis similar to a teddy bear, which is, well, taken for a few moments and then neglected later on. And for those who tend to a more rationalistic view of life, the God image can become an anachronism and feeling ridiculous or restricting. We first wrote about feelings to God and religious coping and the association with depression in the following way. Again, the Lhasa study, the same Lhasa study, but different, the same depression scale, but a different concept here, God image. God image and measure of religious coping. How did we assess God image? We were able to apply the scales of God image to a subsample. All respondents who had been measured with high depression scores in the past. The study started in 2005, the SIDE study, and a subgroup of the never depressed. That we didn't include all respondents because we were a bit afraid that we would lose respondents, that they felt the items, would feel the items as unpleasant or too over the top, or too much religious. In the Netherlands, people have a sort of affinity with religion, but also feelings that it is guilt-ridden, moralistic. The Netherlands are also a quite secularized country. I like the item so much of the questionnaire God image, which is from Germany, from Murken. He was also now and then here in the RSH. And Hanneke Schaap-Jonker, she translated the items and developed them a bit. And we work now with 3 scales. The positive feelings, or in fact more scales, but I will apply 3 scales here. The positive feelings, with items like these, when I think about God, I experience gratitude, security or love, a very high internal consistency. It's the strongest scale in Lhasa. You could say it's almost as strong as the demographic assessment of gender. The second scale is fear of God. When I think about God, I experience fear of being not good enough, fear of being punished, etc. And then we have the third subscale, feeling wronged by God, or religious discontent, you can also call it. When I think about God, I experience disappointment, or anger, or oppression. I was allowed to add one item, that was desolation. But I thought it would be a very good feeling, desolation, because it's my own feeling that it feels for me, it gives me a sense of awe. But desolation was interpreted by the respondents as very, very negative. I have had discussions with Hanneke Schaap about positive and negative, because when you have a separate negative scale, which is also psychometrically different from the positive scale, then it is not the opposite of positive. So I do not use the word negative too much. I think it is a different way of describing certain aspects of the representation of God, feelings of discontent. We also used a version of the brief religious coping scale. There are more versions. I chose the version and we translated it with only 10 items. One is left out because it was on guilt, and guilt was associated both with positive and with negative religious coping. Guilt is also good from a Calvinist Protestant point of view. But we thought the 10 items we selected were not too religiously phrased. In Western Europe, people are not all tuned in with strong religiousness, and still there were some complaints by the respondents. Here you see the general scores. These scores are the same in most of our studies where we use the scales. Positive feelings to God occur quite a lot. Fear to God, feeling wronged by God are much lower. And the same is true about positive religious coping and negative religious coping. They occur, but not so much. For this first study, it is a retrospective study. We checked how previous depression scores predicted or were associated with God image scales included in the study in 2005. So it's not truly longitudinal with respect to God image. That comes later, within this hour. Here you see a slide how it should not be, so I go over it, but the scores on these critical skills, these religious discontent skills, fear of God, feeling wronged by God, the scores are higher for those who had depression in the past. But were most of all high in those who still experienced current depressive symptoms. Here there are 5 course patterns of depression during those, how many years it was, about 10 years, 12 years. The never depressed group was the reference group. We show odds ratios, and the odds ratios are highest for feeling wronged by God in the group who had recent and current high depression scores. There was hardly an association with positive feelings to God, feelings of anxiety or fear for God. They also were associated with current and recent depression. Here you see the associations with the religious coping skills. There was no association with positive religious coping, but there were associations over time with the patterns of past depression, recent depression, and of course also with current depressive symptoms with the negative religious coping skill. Here you see my desolation item. The beautiful feeling I have with desolation in the nature or whatever, it says a lot about my personal spirituality, but not about the statistical truth in old age citizens in the Netherlands. It was highly associated with depressive symptoms. Feeling abandoned by God is more or less the same concept. I don't know why it was so strongly associated. Feeling abandoned by God, a weaker image of God. That was the message I thought I found, an existential void for those in depression. Would that be temporary? Would that recover? I'm still busy with that, but I'm now working on a longitudinal study. I will show you some of it. Religious struggle, spiritual alienation. They are correlates of depression. They are I think the existential parallels of feeling depressed. But they are not in depression scales, but the correlations are up to 0.50, which is quite high. So now a prospective study. Here on the right-hand side, we did 3 more measurements using the question of God image and the brief religious coping skills. This is new work. It's not ready yet. The sample became smaller and smaller because these old people died. They are 77 years of age now. You see also that Roman Catholics, Protestants, and non-affiliated are equally distributed. And the course of depression, according to the criterion of CSD scores of 16 and higher, were like this. One group was never depressed. Another group had a persistent depression, or at least persistent high depression scores. Some people recovered from that high depression score, and some got at a higher level of depression. In fact, the persistence group of those with a high score, almost 70% persisted. So it is really a long-term trait, these high depression scores. It's well known from population-based studies. Positive feelings to God. They were at the highest frequency among those who never were depressed. And they had the lowest scores among those who had persistent depression. I show you the total range of scores. It starts with 5, ends with 25. But the thing that strikes me most is that people who have a persistent depression still have quite high positive levels of feelings to God. So that's good news. There are still positive feelings during these depressed states. But other aspects are interwoven, especially fear of God, with higher scores among those with a persistent depression, and feeling wronged by God, which also shows the symptom, the pattern that people who were depressed and who recovered had lower levels of discontent. So discontent, feeling wronged by God, parallels the recovery of depression, as if it were a symptom. Might be. Positive religious coping doesn't show any reasonable pattern, and that is also because coping should start with stress and problems. So if you start your coping, positive religious coping doesn't need to immediately have an effect. It is mobilized, and you don't know whether an effect is feasible. On the other, negative religious coping had again that religious struggle effect, higher levels of negative religious coping for those with persistent depression. And again, that remission pattern can be recognized a bit. I also started with the more advanced analysis. These are mixed models. Mixed models need quite some interpretation with between subject and within subject effects. And within subject effects say that if there is change over time within an individual, that there is a significant effect on the depression scores. That was only to be demonstrated for negative coping. For all the other measures, it seems to be more statically associated with the state of depression at the same time. The other way around, when you use depressive symptoms predicting the religious variables, there are effects, but not the within subject. So there is not so much change within the scores of depression that it will affect the levels of these religious measures. Stated more simply, I think it is a reciprocal association over time. Is there an influence of religious struggle on depressive symptoms? Yes, it is a bit there. We saw a significant coefficient for these within subject effect for negative religious coping at least. But the other way around, this effect is also that depressive symptoms may cause religious struggle simultaneously. A causal pathway, I think it's difficult to say at the end of life. We should have started the study when these were adolescents. affective studies by Miller and her group, the American group of Miller, with also generations included and brain imaging and everything alike, they started early, so we can learn a lot of those studies. They are still going on. I still think that we look with religious struggle or spiritual alienation to an existential equivalent, and that it might be good to address it and to connect with people, how they look to their state from an existential point of view, how they lose meaning in life. And here I arrive at almost my last slide, Jessie, because I did some thinking about how to integrate some of these findings into a model of prevention and how to address religiousness in the care for the depressed. And prevention has 3 levels normally. Primary prevention, which is really for preventing any symptoms and which should be applied to the community. And there I think that religion and mental health, religion and depression generally show positive patterns of religiousness to mental health, mental hygiene, belong to mental hygiene. And you can teach the public about it, I think, and teach professionals that generally positive health is accompanied by religiousness and spirituality, that it is, that at least religiousness generally doesn't represent a risk factor, but a positive factor. The American studies, we saw dozens of it these days, seem to show that. But then when symptoms start, also religious struggle starts. And I think there is the opportunity to connect with people and to invest in the alliance, and that spiritual care starts. And that I prepared that lecture about Donia Baldacchino, that being and doing starts. Just to open up, to be prepared for sharing these concerns. I don't think that we immediately should try to influence this religious struggle, only when the patient explicitly asks for it. But I don't think we should intervene in things we do not completely understand. So do not harm, because very often religious struggle may represent an explanatory model for the patient. Why do I feel like this? Well, God has punished me, or I'm losing God. But we can also use psychoeducation, also with the studies which we aim to make, that these religious feelings, spiritual feelings may recover when the depression will recover, and that there is still hope to regain your spiritual positive feelings. Tertiary prevention is about relapse prevention and about preventing handicaps. And there I think we definitely should do a step away of regarding religiousness and spirituality as protective factors or risk factors, but that we should put the arrows in the different direction. The end for people is that the ultimate goal should be that they have some spiritual support, that they have a feeling of spiritually being connected. I think we should address the existential concerns, quite specific, about death and being unconnected, about isolation, about stigma, about for the patients who are in the institute, also about the involuntary care. These are all existential concerns there. And in the process of recovery, especially nurses or spiritual counselors, they will connect with people and discover that in the life narrative, meaning in life, spirituality and religion may play a very large role. There we also see religion and spirituality as a last resort, which is not an effective medication or something against mental health problems, but it is an other way to view our value, our dignity as human beings, with or without mental health problems, that spirituality and spiritual life, religious values are still feasible for us. But that is what I wanted to tell you and to share with you. 2 studies, one without a result, just horizontal lines on cosmic transcendence, and the other is not ready yet. I need a statistician to check a few things, but I promise I do that. I do that in my leisure time, and all this work for students are ready, and for the clinic and for this conference and for anything else. I work on my data because I like them so much. They are precious to me. Thank you for your attention and for your patience at the end of the week, still watching the RSH.
Thank you, Arjan, for a very nice presentation, and thank you for your nuanced and detailed explanation. Highly appreciated. I was a bit surprised myself to hear that your Cosmic Transcendence paper, that it was so difficult to get it published, because I like it a lot and I even use it in my course of psychogerontology. So I'm very happy that it is published. So if there are questions, I see already one question in the chat. A clarification question. Hester is asking, how do cosmic and gerotranscendence relate? So maybe you can quickly zoom in that area.
Yes, of course. Cosmic transcendence is just one subdimension of gerotranscendence. And I use them interchangeably. The gerotranscendence also contains self-transcendence and sometimes social transcendence. Self-transcendence is also a measure in a personality theory, which is now and then used in psychiatry. I forgot now his name because of the nerves, but so self-transcendence is a concept which is now and then around. So I think there is ground to work on cosmic transcendence as a single concept to make it a bit more easier. If you work with cosmic transcendence, because please do not use those items we did. I think that there are newer and better versions. I also published about it in 2006 on a much easier version of the Gerotranscendent 2 scale. Yeah. Okay. Arend has a question.
A simple one. Could it be that some of the explanations are a matter of isolation? Because when you're isolated as an old person and no one is over there, maybe God is your best friend, but when you have good social contacts, God is not needed. It's a little bit provocative, yes, of course, but it could be also part of the explanation.
Two answers. The first is the Gerotranscendent theory has been seen as a new version of the social disengagement theory, which is one of the aging theories. And in disengagement, you can see how the society tends to exclude older people that are alone, that are not interesting anymore, or that we have to take care for their somatic concerns, but not for their inner life, or not for their really personal interaction. So that is a sort of ageism theory, the social disengagement theory. It seems as if you point a bit towards that, and I think that that's a true point. On the other hand, being alone and tending to contemplate, it may be a bit romantic, but the association with prayer was quite high. It was more prominent than with other measures of religiousness. So the item of prayer is also combined with the item on meditation. And prayer doesn't correlate so much in our study. So I think there is also a positive component of being alone in a sort of equilibrium. Of course, I'm not certain about it, but I think it can be a positive solitude.
Anybody else who would like to ask a question or has a suggestion? If I may, Arjan, I have a question myself. You added the desolation item in the God image scale. And I was wondering, do you think that it's possible that that item is stepping into existential loneliness?
Might be. But existential loneliness is not easy to assess, I think. There are scales, but I also saw scales which do not contain any item which really have to do with existential loneliness. Desolation, yes, from my own point of view, it was meant as a sort of aesthetic feeling, but it taps perhaps existential loneliness. I think it does. Yes, also because it is so highly connected with the abandonment item.
Mm-hmm.
Hanneke Schaap has kept it in her scale, so that was nice from her. So we now and then apply the item. You know, one or more items, more or less, that doesn't really matter for these skills.
That's true. Okay, good to hear.
May I follow up on this desolation term? I wonder if it's lost in translation. What would it be in Dutch? And is desolation just in English? And I don't know if these research was done in English or in Dutch. So that is it the correct term for what you're looking for, especially if you're looking for the aesthetic aspect?
What a good question. The Dutch was for those who understand Dutch. Just change into Dutch. I think René will approve of that. No. Verlatenheid. Verlatenheid. In Dutch is verlassen. So solitude is more positive, I think. Abandonment is more a sort of reproach. Therefore, I thought that desolation was quite close to verlatenheid, a sort of loneliness, close to loneliness.
May I push you a little bit further?
It?
There is an aesthetic value in verlatenheid, and I don't know if it translates in German. Verlassen, was is in German? Verlassenheit? Does it have an aesthetic, or where is it? Can you point me to the aesthetic? Because I think you're onto something, but I don't know if we've captured the aesthetics.
I think the aesthetic element is only personal. That I'm glad that I'm now and then alone. And perhaps because I'm gerotranscendent already. I passed the 45, I'm past the 50, so I now feel glad to be alone now and then. No, it is reasonably negative, verlatenheid.
Yes. Also in German language, it means someone has rejected me.
It is more abandonment.
Closer to abandon. Yes, I think so. Yes, yeah.
I'm not an English linguist, but desolation has a more, I think I agree with Jesse, an existential soul desolation, that you are existential verlaten. But interesting. Thank you. I will be thinking about that more.
Well, as a matter of fact, the translation of these terms, it is very good to concentrate on it. In the Netherlands, we have a lot of discussion about our word for meaning in life. The definition of meaning in life in Dutch it is zingeving, meaning giving, which is a horrible word, I think, meaning giving. But for us, zingeving is a very normal word. If you look to the best academic definitions of zingeving, or meaning in life for the Dutch, it's almost identical to international definitions of spirituality. But the Dutch do not like the word spirituality. They think that we are all dragging around with ancestor beliefs and magic thoughts. So they are a bit allergic to the term spiritual. Whereas internationally, it is quite an accepted term with gradually better and better definitions. So terminology is very, very essential even within a country like the Netherlands, which is so closely connected to the other countries here around, to the UK, to Germany, and to Flanders, of course.
Thank you. Are there any other questions, things that you would like to ask or discuss?
May I? I raise a hand.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this very rich review of results. They are very impressive. And I would like to refer to the last part of your table related to the tool, yes, and a tool which is useful to fulfill the targets. So here is public education, teaching professionals, psychoeducation. What do you think about the possibility to add there therapy in spirituality? For example, like Griffiths explained it in their book. So I mean the work with beliefs, with people in a process of therapy.
It's a very important question you raise. Personally, I refrain a bit because I work with those with serious mental impairment. And if I start with a religious therapy, they have not asked for it, because most of our therapies we just force upon to them. And well, they sort of agree with the families. So I am a bit scared to influence people or to proselytize patients. But as soon as there is an alliance in which you can talk a bit about spirituality or beliefs, or find a common ground, or anyway the ground of the patient which you can connect, then it can enter on all levels, I think, your therapy, for motivating for medication, for integrating it in talking about recovery, and also to include it in, for example, cognitive behavioral therapy. In the meta-analysis now show that it is at least not worse than regular CBT, and for some groups even better. And if you talk with therapists, but not psychotherapists, but the therapist for creative therapy or music therapy, there are very often cultural components with matters of transcendence in it, very often. In the Netherlands, we are working on a sort of guideline for zingeving, so our spirituality and mental health. And those therapists, they're absolutely our fans, and they help us because they see a lot more in the creations and affinities of the patients compared to what we derive from the rational or verbal context. Yeah. So I am a bit morally aware of not to influence people with my religion, although yeah, you always take your own life view with you, of course. But I'm very positive about integrating it as soon as the time is there. Yeah, and it depends on the country where you work, I think.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks a lot for this nice discussion and the nice talks. I think we need to wrap up now, and I would like to give the words to René.
Thank you, Jessie. And thank you, Arjan, for this beautiful presentation. I think it was really, you did a good job for the last one. I think you should get some applause for this. And you really showed us very nicely how this research is also linked with your life, with your biography, with your interests, and how this research evolves in your personal context. It was a beautiful presentation. Thank you. Good, yeah, we have to come to an end. This is always a difficult part, I think. I think it was a very intense 2 days and very rich for me. And we have the program for this last closing session will be, we'll tell you about the poster prize, who won the poster prize. Would like to get some feedbacks about what you benefit from the conference. And we'll give you some outlook on future conferences. So I would like to start with the first one, with the poster awards, and your poster, also the public poster prize. Many of you were involved, and I would like to hand over to Arndt and Arjan to share with us about what they decided, what the result of the poster prize and the poster award is for this conference.
So thank you. Thanks for all who have participated to choose the most impressive poster. Unfortunately, you were not very clear, because now we have 2 best posters. It's not a big issue because both will be happy. It's Anna Tavares. She's a young researcher with the topic of spiritual comfort in nursing as a concept analysis, and Helga Martins, spiritual distress in colorectal cancer patients. Both were voted best with equal vote numbers. So congratulations. And if you would like to say at least a few words, what you have found and what is the impact, we would invite you to unmute your microphone. Of course, you may thank you. But anyway, please rapidly say what are the key essentials you found.
I can share the posters if you want, Arndt.
Wonderful. Yes, do it. And Anna Tavares, because she's on the list, the first one, sorry, starting with A. If you're there, please, would you like to say some words? Anna, are you there?
I guess it's Sylvia. I guess Anna is not here.
Okay.
She's a PhD student and nurse, and she's on her shift now. But she asked me to say thank you to all. And she's a PhD student, and this poster concerns her PhD research. It's a grounded theory study where she's trying to understand the process of delivering spiritual comfort by nurses.
Yeah, thank you. Now, Helga Martins, are you here?
Yes, I am. Thank you. Perhaps it's better for Professor Sylvia to talk about the poster, okay? I think it's better.
He has to do all the
No,
jobs.
I want Helga. It's your research. Please do.
Thank you so much for the organizational committee for this award. Thank you so much for Professor Sylvia and also Catholic University in Lisbon. This poster is about assessing the nursing characteristics of the nursing diagnosis spiritual distress. And we found that the patients, cancer patients, have a prevalence of spiritual distress about 33%, which is alarming data that we need to take care of the patients and assess spirituality. But I think it's better to Professor Silver because it's very difficult for me to speak in English.
No, it's okay. It's wonderful.
I was not quite expecting to win, but thank you so much.
Now we noticed that Portugal is the leading country in research, particularly when it's the topic of nursing. 2 posters from 1 institute. Wow, thank you. That's great. So now we're coming to the Young Researcher Prize. Arjan, would you take over?
I want to do it together with you, Arndt, but this poster had a sort of quite nice spot in our environment because it was posted as a photo.
Yeah.
And the photos were much more easier to read. than the documents. Although the documents, when you opened them, they were very nice and good to read, but it took a while. So there was a little advantage. And here we have the poster. Yes, so it cannot be read.
Yes.
This is like Arabic.
Now it's Deon Kim, the effect of the spiritual journey program on spiritual growth, psychological and physical well-being for Christian adults. Now the poster award for the young researcher is going to South Korea. Wow. Wonderful. Congratulations. Are you there?
Deon.
One of the Kims could say whatever they would like to say.
I saw Dayung just before. I think she is here.
Yes, she is here. She's at least at the screen. I see her on the screen, but it seems it's frozen. No, it's not frozen.
Thank you very much for giving me this Young Researcher Award. In
Yay.
Korea, only two, my advisor, Dr. Soksan Kim, and I attended this conference. This conference was so impressive, and I hope to attend this conference again in the future to present my dissertation. Also, I wish you to become a great researcher in the field of spirituality and health like all of you. Thank you all. And let me introduce my poster. Research indicated that the intervention group after spiritual journal program showed a significant improvement in spiritual growth, psychological well-being until the 3-month follow-up. These findings suggested that spiritual journal can be effective method of spiritual self-care to promote spiritual growth and psychological well-being. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. So you can see here the Young Researcher Award. We can't read what is the award, but anyway, René, maybe you can tell it.
You cannot read it.
No?
No, none of the slides.
None of the slides.
No, the posters, neither the posters.
That's colored, that's okay.
Okay, then let's stop it.
That's better. There you are. Yeah.
You couldn't read the posters?
No.
What happened?
It's your turn. At least say to Deon Kim, what is the reward? This is interesting.
But I think there are two Kims.
Yes.
I can see two.
The
Kims.
large king and the small king. The small king is a Young Research Award winner.
I think it's great. I think it's great. And you will, you know, the award prize will be 200 euros for you. And you will have to be, I think we have maybe your accounts. We will transfer this money to you. And you also will get this certificate, of for the poster awards. I tried to show, but you didn't see it. So we'll send it to you, or send it by mail or by email. So you will get this nice certificate, and you will get the 200 euros for this poster prize. And congratulations also for my side. I think it's very nice. We have all the 3 posters were from nursing, from nursing background. I think this is very impressive. So nursing is really on the way forwards related to research.
Donia was taking care about that, I think, especially this year.
It fits very well with Donia and her engagements, and also the Donia lecture we just started for this conference. Great, thank you. Thank you for these contributions. But I'm a little bit disappointed that you couldn't see the posters. I really tried hard. So maybe but everybody has seen them anyway. Okay, let's come to the next point. We would like to know what you are going to take home. You know, at the end of the conference, I think the one important question is what I'm going to take home. And I will ask some of our team that they can share what they're going to take home. And I would like to ask some of you to hear what you are going to take home from this conference. But maybe Niels, maybe Niels, you could start just to give us an idea of what you are going to take home.
Sure. I thought it was so nice to see new people. There were many new people this time that I didn't meet on former conferences. I still miss that we couldn't sit and around a big table and eat. Of course, but this was really, really well executed, Renee. So thank you so much for this. I have come across, even just today, projects that remind of projects that I'm working on with colleagues, but that we are just starting to plan for. But here there were some that had already come very far with them. So that's always an enormous benefit at a conference like this, that sometimes you meet somebody who is just a few years ahead of you in your planning, and you can learn a lot from what they already came up with. So I take that home.
Thank you. Who else? Maybe Alex. Maybe Alex, you can tell us, as one of the co-organizers, what you're going to take home from this conference.
Thank you. There's a lot of things to process. There's a lot of information, a lot of the dialoguing, especially I participated in some symposia, and we get some contacts. I guess we could improve the discussions and maybe publish it together, and we can do some events or forum to discuss these kinds of things. I guess probably some meanings that dialogues will become part of the spirituality of everyday life, trying to think together and think by myself what we could be to promote at this time of these pandemic times or post-pandemic times in some place, how we can improve the health of the world. Think health and common home, maybe. I'm very grateful for each collaboration or for each discussion, and especially that they're ones who will discuss directly about some subjects, who growing up my perception of the things. So thank you so much for this invitation. I'm not exactly a specialist in spirituality and health. I'm curious and very exciting curious, but what this group is promoting is very, very important. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. Also from my side, I see Deborah there in the corner.
I thought you'd miss me. So I think what's always so good about these conferences, and I think what I've got and what I'll take away, is just some renewed inspiration. I think we're often working in quite siloed and quite secular driven areas. And I think, the value of coming together with people who are also keen to explore this area, empirically is really important. So it's just that kind of renewed solidarity, I think, in all being together, and knowing that we are all kind of working to the same end is really, really good.
It's great that you say that. So although it was a virtual event, it's amazing, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been to other virtual conferences, but I feel that I hope others feel it too, that we actually got some sense of community and belonging, even though we were so distant. I think it feels like it's been an event rather than just, something on in the background. So.
Yeah, thank you, Deborah. Let's go to Poland. Let's go to Kasia. What are you going to take home, Kasia?
Thank you for this voice, Renee. I'm happy to see you all together. I think we can go on regardless of the pandemic, and that is a very optimistic point for everyone. Regardless of the circumstances, we may exchange information, be together. So this is the value. I can sum up that I have good impression, new knowledge, and wider perspective. Thank you, René, for everything.
Thank you too, Kasia, for helping with the symposium. So I know that I've seen Odenir somewhere on the screen. Where is Odenir? He's a Brazilian medical, no, he's a young doctor, a Brazilian young doctor. Is he still there? Is Odenir there? I saw him on the screen, but maybe he's not there anymore. Okay, so let's ask Mary. Where is Mary?
Where is Brazil?
She's hiding. She's hiding.
I was hiding from you.
No, I guess.
But Odenir is here. Is there? Odenir is there. Odenir, please show yourself. So thank you very much, René and Deb and Niels, Alex, all of you, the organizers of this conference. Unfortunately for us as Brazilians, it was a very European conference because it doesn't favor our time zone. You started at 4 in the morning, so it was too early for us. But what we could see was very interesting, and especially this morning, and the presentation made by Arjan, and also our free communications. It was so interesting that people didn't want to go home. They wanted to stay there and talking, and there we decided to organize another conference on narratives. Narratives and spirituality and health. So it was a very inspiring conference, and thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Mary, and thank you. You were the second biggest group. You were the second biggest group, all the same. So really, I think this is an applause for the Brazilians, huh? Applause to the Brazilians.
Thank you.
They had difficult circumstances, but they joined the conference. The same as for the Americans. Maybe Czech, you could share something about what you're going to take home.
Thank you, René. Sorry, if my phone falls out, I'll pick it up. I'm Jack. I am a practicing psychiatric nurse practitioner in New York. I've taken the dive at age 57 into doing a doctorate, just a professional doctorate in health out of the University of Bath in the UK. So what I have just bouncing off of what Deborah said is it's very comforting to know that there are others who are interested in empirical research in this area. Going to a secular institution, I'm running into a little bit of resistance from some of my advisors, but I'm going to continue to push through. And I've made some wonderful contacts. I didn't even know this group existed until about 2 weeks ago. I was just kind of searching through Google and found it. And I also did the research seminar prior to this conference. So I've gotten some really good ideas and some wonderful contacts. And I feel much more prepared to move on with this along this topic and to base a doctoral thesis on an aspect of spirituality and health. So I appreciate you, and you'll probably be hearing from me whether you want to or not.
This would be nice, Czech. This would be nice if you can have these relationships over the Atlantic Ocean.
Oh, absolutely. I'll see you.
The Europeans are quite open. The Americans a little bit less open sometimes.
Yeah, so it's yeah. So I'll see you in what, in Amsterdam next year?
Yeah. Don't say too much about Amsterdam. This will be the last point here.
Oh, so sorry. I didn't mean to take the wind out of your sails there.
Good. Who else? Maybe Liz. What are you going to take home?
Okay. Firstly, I want to say thank you to all of the organizers. And one thing I took from it was that even though it was a large conference, it was very relaxed and I felt very welcoming. And I'm going to take maybe that home because that's a particularly Irish attribute, of welcome. And I felt very welcomed at the conference. And I am actually leaving my work in the health services at the end of June to pursue doctoral studies in pilgrimage. So I'm sad that I'm leaving the health services, but it's part of my spirituality journey. But I still am available if anybody's interested in starting up anything in their own healthcare site with regards spiritual interventions for healthcare staff. And thank you. Wonderful 2 days. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you for joining, Liz. So there is Laura. Laura from, I'm not sure. Laura from Great Britain, I guess. You're not hearing me? Laura David.
Yeah, I can hear you, but I'm not from Great Britain. I'm from Belgium.
Oh, Belgium, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so I guess my biggest takeaway from the conference, well, it's hard to pinpoint one thing, as many people have also communicated. But I guess that the biggest thing that I learned is that our research is often very fundamental in nature, and we tend to focus on fundamental psychological processes and associations. But I really felt the vibe in this conference of the importance of translating this research to practice and to education. And I think it was inspiring to see how people approach that here. And I think it will be something that I take with me, like to always think about, okay, how can I translate this research for the population that we are performing it in, so for the people that it matters to the most, and not just for other researchers.
Okay, so this is your challenge, huh? This is your challenge. Good. Who would like to share something about what he's taking home? Who else would like to share something? Do we have this poll, Niels?
I want to share some.
Yes, we can. I can set up a poll if you want to.
Just a minute. There was a comment.
Yeah, sure. But you can set up the poll, Niels. Okay. Yeah, we can continue. Who is speaking? Who is speaking?
Suksung Kim.
Oh, good. Yeah, now I see her.
Okay, thank you all organized committee for your effort and all organization. And actually, after complete my postdoc at the Duke Center for Spirituality, Theology, and Health, it took so long time to surround with all people, the enthusiastic people who study spirituality and health. So this conference is so inspiring me and encouraging me to keep going on the study in this field of the spirituality and health. And also so many people is give me some great idea, new research idea about this field. So thank you all. And I hope I can continue to attend this conference in the next year, maybe some area, right? Okay,
thank you, Kim. And you're welcome to do that. And you have beautiful flowers behind you. They are real, or?
This is a Iowa Women's University. This is our university is the picture.
Good.
Actually, the Daan Kim
must be a beautiful place.
Yes, this is a great place. And then Daan Kim took this picture. Actually, when I saw the aunt is a presentation, aunt also is a great photographer, right? So Daan Kim also great photographer.
Yeah, did you hear, Arndt? Good. What's about the poll, Niels? It's already ready.
You need to make me co-host, and I can share my screen.
Okay, just a minute.
If all of you people then get...
Maybe you can...
Pardon me, René?
Maybe can you explain how it works?
Sure, once we have it up. It's a simple poll. We will ask you to upload single words, only single words, like I said in the beginning of yesterday's keynote. So your single words, what you take home from the conference in Lisbon or Hoover 2021. And I'm now a co-host, so I can share the screen. I think this is it. Yes. Okay, so we should be live now. Can you see it's the address is poll.ev/vid, and you can then upload single words, and you can upload as many words as you like. So you can take single words, whatever, inspiration or whatever, and then we will see. This will be our final product, our communal product.
Yeah, thank you, Niels.
It's saying it's not active. Oh,
yes.
It was saying it's not active.
Oh, yeah? It is, though. Let me just see what it could be. Somebody made.
The child drawings immediately begin again on the screen.
Yeah, you know what? I will unshare this screen and share my desktop instead. I think that's better. Let's try this. Did it become any different now?
Waiting for, now it's working.
Okay. So you can use the browser on your computer or on your phone, but upload single words and you can send up as many words as you want. poll.ev/HVIDT.
Wow. Yeah. During your sending your words, I also would like to tell that we will send you an evaluation form. We will send you an evaluation form just to give us some more feedback about the conference, about the organization, about the program, and all these kind of things, so that we can have really your feedback and can improve the conferences one to the other. I also would like to apologize for things that didn't work, who didn't, the communication, some of the communication who didn't work so well. With the poster especially, we had some problems with the communication. So I really would like to apologize for this. It was a lot of work. It was very difficult to put these two conferences together, and we tried our best. So let's have an outlook to next year.
Just really, just before the outlook, could you just inform everybody what will be available after the conference online, videos and so on? It would be very nice to know.
This is part of the outlook, Niels.
Okay, great.
But we can start with this one, yeah. Thank you. We can, the platform, the Hoover event platform will be will stay open for the next 6 months. So you can go back to the Hoover platform. You can, and we will put the recordings we have, we will put in the platform, but this will not be tomorrow. This will be maybe next week. We'll put all the recordings into the platform, and you can go back to the platform. You can also go back to the other participants. You can continue to chat or to communicate. So this will stay open for another 6 months. Good. I think this is what I have to say concerning the platform and the conference. Maybe now you can tell something, Arjan, about our next conference.
I think it is difficult for René to accept the positive feedback, which is now on our screen. And that must be part of the problem, René, that you just like to make this beautiful conference happening every 2 years. And we know that in the live conferences or in the online conferences, there are moments that the color of your skin turns gray or pale, and that one beer that you drank yesterday evening was almost a medical problem, introducing deep forgetfulness and things like that. But I hope you can accept the compliment of the attendees over here, that we really liked your effort as the sort of owner of this conference. The committee was more busy than in other years, I think, although there was no local committee necessary, so we worked differently. And we hope that we have supported you as much as we could. But I realize that all of us fall short, and that you have repaired so many things in the Hoover website. So that's great. But you asked me to share a thing, so I shall share.
Let me say one word. Okay. Many thanks for this. Many thanks for this. I hope that in the future the hefty will become smaller. The hefty will become, all the names will become bigger. Well, I think we have a wonderful team, and it was, with this virtual conference, this was very special for all of us, and we are under huge pressure to realize it. But I also would like to thank the team. I think they contributed, they shared, they made keynotes. I think it's really, you did also some work, so this is no doubt.
We realize.
Thank you for this. This was your prophet. You're a prophet. Huh? You're a prophet. Because Arjan was telling me this will be the result of the poll yesterday.
That's right. Right. That's right. I forgot it.
You have some prophetic
yes.
Abilities.
It's not only reserved to people in Brazil. But René, I think the audience, the participants, that they showed so much patience with the technical problems and shared the inconveniences so well. So without that, it would be quite difficult. And a few of them maybe feel a bit disappointed. Generally, people are very nice and patient, and we have had hilarious scenes, I can convince you, with the technique, but still we are here. Yeah. Shall I share the screen for the future? Is it okay?
Sure.
What we hope to be the future. From a sort of Protestant view, you do not know what will happen in the future. There can be a fourth wave or a fifth wave of COVID, different viruses, etc. But we still want to attach to our plans and to go on in the normal scheme in 2022 with the European Conference on Religion, Spirituality and Health. And it is already next year. We hope to organize next year as it matches then much better with other conferences throughout the years here in Europe. It is work in progress, so nothing is guaranteed what I will show. And even the dates, I was so busy today, I do not know the dates, but the dates are fixed already. Some of the committee members will find them out.
It's 4 to 6. It's 4 to 6 June.
Yes, of course, 4 to 6 June. Yes, and where would it be? It has already been called. It's somewhere behind these people, in the city of these people, and so we are aiming for Amsterdam. And Amsterdam is absolutely not a religious city, you would say, although it is also a pilgrimage city for the Holy Mary, although it is not that well known. It is more for pilgrimages of art and nice scenery in the downtown. But we do not come for the downtown. Even René was not so positive about downtown Amsterdam. But it's much improved and much more tranquil nowadays. We are heading for the Vrije Universiteit, the Free University of Amsterdam, which offers us the opportunity to be in the main building. In the 70s, we thought this would be a very beautiful building. I hope you will try to get this aesthetic feeling with me. It is beautiful architecture. It's also a bit ugly, but we will be able to visit in the conference rooms in the top of the building, I think, probably in the chapel or in the larger rooms down below. That depends also on how we shape the conference, how many people will travel. And because, yes, how would it be? De Vrije Universiteit. This is the local team with Hanneke Schaapjonker, Piet Verhagen, he is here, Bart Gooyer and me, and the whole committee, and of course René. Our aim is to do it live and hybrid. It's an aim. We have now this experience. Hybrid is a new experience. But in a year we will have learned quite a lot. An online conference, we hesitated to choose it, and it's, well, more or less we succeeded in it. Where is it about? It is about mental health. It is about mental health, and we have a few themes, but we have not decided to one theme. So you see all the list of things. We call it positive mental health, a matter of meaning. It may be about existential spiritual issues in mental health, religion and spirituality. Here, my working title, The 12 Trumpets and Positive Mental Health, Religion and Psychopathology, Nursing and Religious and Spiritual Needs. I think that may be a big component. Secular meaning in life, very important in the Low Countries. Matters of tautology and definitions of spirituality and mental health care. It's my own favorite subject, tautology. Existential struggle, the approaches of counselors. Introducing positive health in mental health care, but also critical and ethical reflection on positive health, and about guidelines on religion and spirituality and mental health, because they are developing more and more. So there's a lot of mental health around any health issue. So we hope to interest you and other colleagues for the conference next year. So see you in Amsterdam, I hope so, on the 4th of June, 4th to 6th June. Please put it in the chat. Yeah, okay.